Hey, how y'all doing? This is Nate and Chris with the Rule
What's
of
up, guys? What's
Thirds,
up, guys?
and we're gonna be giving you that Loki episode 6 review.
Yeah, man.
This was an interesting one. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Uh, and I liked that. I really liked how the no spoilers or anything like that, but I like how this one ended actually.
Well, we're going to get into spoilers, but Nate, we had talked about what we thought we were going to see in episode 6, and I thought it was cool because there were so many possibilities, and there was, and even the first time I watched it, I still wasn't really sure what I was seeing, and I kind of had to watch it a couple of times and dig a little deeper. Um, But you know, you had said that. Okay, here's the scene that got me. I'll just cut right into it. Then I want to go back a step. We see Sylvie and Loki stand outside the castle. They walk in, and who shows up? Who's the first person that shows up?
Miss
That was
Minutes.
a right. That was a part I was just like, oh god, like is it her? You know, like I was like thinking to myself, like no, like just and I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Tell me how you felt about it when you saw Miss Minutes show up the first time.
I thought Miss
Because
Minutes was going
I was like, oh God, no.
because from the couple of episodes, I had already kind of came to the conclusion that Miss Minutes was actually taking the orders directly from whoever was in control anyway. Because
Okay.
like when she's the one who came up with the plan for like the void craft and stuff like that, uh and stuff like that, and she would tell what's it called, you're not allowed access to stuff like that. The fact that she could tell Renslayer kind of what she could even have access to was like made me think like, well, she has access to stuff that like she's privy
Mm-hmm.
knowledge that even she can't know. So
Right.
and
Right.
she didn't seem like an AI or anything. Like she is an AI, but at the same time, she doesn't seem like an AI. Like she has some type of
Orders.
will. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like I always get kind of sketchy that she was working for. I didn't think she was ever in, like the boss, but I definitely thought that she was already working for someone way higher up there. And I from there kind of assumed it was already definitely whoever was in control. And when she showed up there, I was like, yeah, she's definitely.
So I want to. I definitely. So here's and this just came to me right. And I want to go back even further to the beginning, but that whole Miss Minutes thing, it reminded me of something, and I couldn't put my finger on it until maybe 20 minutes ago, our time, you and our time, 20 minutes ago before we started this video. And I was trying to think, Miss Minutes, like, what does that remind me of on that sort of like, he's waiting for you kind of thing? He knew you were coming. This episode for me, and for those of y'all out there who were in the movies and who've seen this movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This episode reminded me, it was literally The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino meets Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's what this episode felt like to me. I'm gonna leave it there. Let's go back to the beginning of this episode, Nate. We've seen essentially that Marvel. I don't want to call it crawl and take anything away from Star Wars, but that Marvel intro, right? Where you get the Marvel thing and you hear the Marvel theme and all that kind of stuff. It was different this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, because you heard a bunch of different things from a bunch of different movies, all kind of
What?
mixed together.
Yeah. What you hear? Tell me about what you heard. Tell me about what you heard.
I mean,
Anything
it
stick
was
out
kind
to
of.
you?
I mean, like the dance music from like Captain America, which was kind of from like when he went back in time with the Infinity Stones, to actually live his life. So that's technically a split.
Right.
Uh,
We
essentially,
get Falcon and Winter Soldier talking about Tic Tac. We get Thor. He's a friend from work. There's so many countless sort of quotes ripped from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and put in this intro. And this is all I'm gonna say to y'all. and to you, because we're going to do a series recap. There's some other voices in there, and I invite you and anyone else to go back and stand as close as you can to your TV or watch it with headphones and listen for other voices. Because I'm getting excited. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps back to, was episode 3 or 4 of WandaVision when I thought something had happened. I'm sorry, my Google was talking. I didn't say nothing to her. Hey, Google, baby girl. Hey, Google, stop. Sorry, my bad. I would invite y'all to go back and listen real close. There's some other voices in there. And if y'all remember, I think it was episode 4 of WandaVision, when I got super excited, I was thinking to myself, is this that moment? Is this the moment where everything changes in Marvel? I think we got it in this episode. Nate, we see Miss Minutes. She leaves. We see Sylvie and Loki going forward through this castle, this sort of desolate building, whatever.
They hit the elevator. Well,
They hit the elevator.
Well, they don't hit the elevator. My man comes down the elevator.
Yeah, you heard the ding, which I thought was classic, which I thought was cool. Who do we see, Nate?
The one that remains.
He who remains.
He who remains.
He who remains.
Which essentially is a guy who's all in charge of everything.
We saw the man behind the curtain, didn't we?
Pretty much. And originally, when Loki and Sylvie first see him, they're really unimpressed, actually. He's super casual. He comes down eating an apple, like, just kind of casual wear. Like, he's not, like, super frightening looking or anything like that.
He's a man, flesh and blood.
Yeah. Until they go to try to kill him, and they can't even touch him. Like, literally, like, they can't even get close.
So, when you saw, quote unquote, he who remains, and we'll dive a little deeper here in a second of actually who we saw, because there's some names that are thrown around, there's some ideas and concepts and all that kind of stuff, but Miss Minutes calls him he who remains. So we'll essentially take it at that. And he who remains is a character from the comic books. It's not primarily who we saw here, but let's just take it with a grain of salt. We saw this character, and we saw the purple, we saw the apple, we saw he had a little thing on his chest, a little medallion or whatever. He starts talking about, man, this is wild. And shout out to Jonathan Majors. We talked before off camera. You had seen a couple things. I knew the actor who was coming to play such and such down the road, but I'd never really seen him before. But the acting job that I think he did in this scene, in this episode, was phenomenal. He completely stole the show. They get in the elevator. Nate, like you said, they try and kill him. They can't. He's flesh and blood. Why can't they kill him, Nate?
Because he knows everything that's happening. You can't kill someone who literally, whatever move they're thinking about making, he's literally read it. He knows it. He's literally ahead of everything. He knows the timeline in and out.
Not only does he know it, but he has it written down. That scene when he held up the pieces of paper, it was like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. My mind was just like, wow, like, this cat is definitely formidable. He's definitely one to be reckoned with. And let's just jump back here for a second. What's going on with Renslayer while all this is going on?
So
remember that?
Going on, Renslayer is essentially, well, she's approached by my boy Mobius, who
Yeah,
ports
back.
back,
Yeah, he's back.
and they have a conversation, and he's essentially telling her like he wants to know how you could even do this. And he's like, how could you purge me? He's like, cause you were essentially you essentially knew too much. And they got into the argument about who betrayed who.
Mm.
And he was like, you betrayed me. And she's like, no, you betrayed me. You believe you listened to some Lokis, uh, and let them mess up everything. The TVA is important. It's needed. Like, and he's like, why? She's like, I don't. And she don't know.
Right. Go ahead and say it. She doesn't know.
Like I don't know
She doesn't
why.
know. Right. She doesn't know.
She like, but it has to be like, and she's stuck
Yeah.
to the point that she's done so much wrong in her whole time being there that she can't. To her, the TVA can't have been
Be
for
wrong.
anything. Like,
Yeah. She's that invested. Yeah.
yeah,
She's that invested. Sure.
yeah. Like, so she's like, it can't be wrong, yo. Like, I've done so much. I spent eons here
Mm.
doing this. Like, we've been pruning people for eons, like literally eons. He's like, and now that I know the truth, yo, I don't want to do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, he's like, and well, he then kind of drops the bomb on her, like, and we told everybody else. Essentially, like nobody else believed them at first until like she tried to call backup to come and get him. He was like, they all know now too, yo. Like that secret's out. Like the only person
Not
who's like,
not just the secret. Her secret's out.
yeah, like you're a variant.
Yeah.
Like they showed you direct. They showed you directly to their main you, and they're like what's this? They're like, yeah, it's not just her. Mm.
Yeah. It's everybody. Damn near.
Yeah.
Everybody's. I mean, literally, and we'll dive into it. Everybody's a well. I guess he's not really a variant. There's variants of him. We'll kind of get into that here in a second. But yeah, we see Renslayer as a school teacher, and who we know as this sort of leader, this sort of bureaucrat, dictator, following orders but trying to give orders, is essentially a variant. It was crazy because they went back just to 2018. So for them to say that, hey, we've been pruning people for eons and thousands of years, it just kind of makes you really think about this whole sort of you know time change and how they've been bouncing in and out of time for so many years, and maybe to their lifespan it's been thousands of years, but it's been three for her. I thought that was crazy. All right, man, let's go ahead and dive into it. We see Jonathan Majors, he who
So
remains.
and he
We
starts.
see Loki and Sylvie. Go ahead, go ahead.
So they come through the They come through the elevator. They actually, he begins to talk with him. He begins to essentially give him the whole spiel as to how everything is, essentially. And he tells him that well, up until a point actually.
Go ahead, lay it on me. Tell me.
So a couple minutes into the conversation, when he's kind of get them to either sign this contract or just killing, he said whatever option you go with, uh, it's fine with me actually. He said whether you
Mm,
kill me here or you sign the contract and y'all take my job and y'all keep the timeline straight.
okay,
And he
okay.
proceeds to tell them the reason why. He
And
says,
not only take his job, but essentially they're going to be the new leaders, bosses,
or the TVA.
overseers of the TVA. They're going to be in control. Um,
And it's and he goes into his whole spiel as the why though. And he goes into like essentially how he's been named many things.
mm,
He who remains,
conquer. Yeah, he who remains
conqueror.
conqueror. Yeah.
He said a couple other ones.
Well, there's some names out there. I don't think he said, but we can probably go ahead and say him. Rama Tut.
Yeah.
Iron Lad. Uh, who am I missing? Um, um, his real last name is Richard, or Richard, excuse me. I forget his first name. But go ahead. I digress. Go ahead.
And he tells that essentially the reason why he's doing what he's doing is because other variants of him. He said, while he is a relatively good guy, he said for a fact, he said, I'm not a good guy. He said, I literally prune people or get them killed to keep the timeline straight. He said, I'm not a good guy, exactly, but I'm not a good guy for a good reason. Like essentially,
Mm.
like
Let's just go back a little further. Not to cut you off, but I know you know a lot about this. This sort of history lesson he gives, where he talks about this scientist in the 31st century, and this is who I was talking about, who's essentially a descendant of Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four, who discovers that there are different universes out there. I'll leave it there. Go ahead and take me through what he's talking about.
So at that point in time, he's talking about the multiverse at that point in time, which we are getting into all crazy. Now, definitely.
So let me ask you this question before you dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first multiversal war that Miss Minutes was talking about.
Yes. Which was
okay.
Him and
Which is what he discovered. And when I say he, who we see in episode 6 is essentially that same scientist who discovered the multiverses and essentially fought off. And not to take anything from what we're about to say, but there were other variants of him. I'll leave it there. Go ahead, Nate.
So essentially, other variants of him were causing full-on multiversal war, outright blinking whole planets, universes under their command. Because one, his tech was way advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And other ones who had more advanced tech would come and share the tech with the other ones, therefore advancing the tech, and then they would share them all together. So all of them ended up with the technology way beyond their means, and essentially just going to war with each other, causing untold destruction, countless lives. Everybody's literally dying across universes, all in the name for one of them to be the ruler of everything, essentially.
Okay, can I just say something? My apologies to you. His name is Nathaniel Richards. Sorry, Nate. My bad. Go ahead.
It's all good.
I was trying to think of his first name, and I'm like, it's right here in front of me. My bad. Go ahead. Damn it. Sorry.
But yeah, essentially, I lost where I was at.
No, I mean you're talking about he had this technology, and at one point they were sharing the technology. Everyone was getting along. Everyone was hunky dory.
Until some of them started. Obviously, he said some of the less. Essentially, some of the ones. While some people wanted to expand and gain knowledge, he said there are some of them who the only thing on their mind was essentially when they seen another world was they could conquer it.
Yep.
And from there, the war essentially started.
So he's telling the story to Loki and Sylvie, right? And he's essentially breaking down the backstory for the TVA, why it's necessary, why these timelines have needed to be pruned to keep order, balance in the multiverse or in the respective universe, because if not, there is that threat of not only multiversal war, but his variants coming back. And he warns them. And he warns them. And he says what? He goes, they're a lot meaner. And they're a lot worse than I am. To take a step forward here, we're going to see Kane the Conqueror. And now that we've seen Jonathan Majors show up and Loki as essentially He Who Remains, maybe Immortus, maybe that character. Um,
Because he said,
work. Go ahead.
because I essentially said, because he's under the, because he told them, and he said, if you kill me, he said, even if you kill me, he said, essentially, at the end of the day, I'll actually end up right back here in this seat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, he's up from the future, even for them. Like, he's from the 31st century. He hasn't even been born yet. Like, where he's
Yeah.
at there, he hasn't even been born yet. At where Loki and them are at in their timeline. So you kill him, you back to your timeline. In the 31st century, he will still be born. This whole cycle essentially repeats. That's why he said, like, I'll see if y'all kill me here, essentially. I didn't.
Well,
I
yeah. I mean that's sort of. Let's before we even get to that.
yeah.
Let's dive back into that whole dynamic between Sylvie and Loki. So I thought that was really important and crucial to this episode because before they even walk into the castle, they essentially have this pact. You're not going to screw me. I'm not going to screw you. We're going to figure it out together. And I thought it was so cool because when it came down to power, who takes control of what, they showed their true colors. You had, both of them trying to defend themselves, not really knowing who is who. You see this figurehead, he's flesh and blood, but he knows all this information that you don't know. He's been around, he gives you this history lesson, he gives you this backstory, and essentially it makes sense. And then he gives you this ultimatum, which is kind of what you touched upon before.
Yeah, take my job.
You go ahead and kill me. You go ahead and kill me if you want to. And there will be more of me. And a lot of them are a lot meaner and more ruthless than I am right now.
And it will cause the multiversal war again, essentially.
That will cause the multiversal world, right?
And I'll be born again, and then I'll essentially win the war again, and then I'll end up essentially back here.
Right. Or you take control of the TVA. And I thought there was something that was really, really cool, man. There was something that was really, really cool about that, about the scene where, and you kind of touched upon it, was, they start talking about, all the lives what about all the lives you destroyed? What about all the pieces you pruned and you've taken people from their homes and all this kind of stuff? And I'm paraphrasing. This cat looks at Sylvie and says, grow up. He says, grow up. He goes, we're all villains.
Yeah,
we've all done terrible things. He goes, I'm giving you a chance to do a terrible thing for the right reason. That line right there sold me on the whole episode. Oh my God. When he looked and said, grow up, Sylvie. Grow up. We've all done terrible things. Giving you the opportunity to do something bad for the right reason. Oh man.
Yeah, and essentially, and from there starts the dynamic with essentially Loki and Sylvie. Oh
yeah.
Over
yeah.
What is the right decision? Because she immediately just goes to kill him, and Loki's like, wait.
Can we just think about it?
Yeah, like.
Can we just think about it? Can we just take a minute? Is what he kept saying. Let's just take a minute and think about it.
And from there, she immediately goes on, oh, you were just after power the whole time. And from there, they start the argument and they start the fight. And for the first time, Loki's actually genuinely honest. And he's like, and at the end of the day, it also speaks truth for what Kang essentially said, where he's like, she doesn't trust anybody. Like, it is not even because she doesn't want to trust. She literally just can't. Like, she innately struggles. Like, can't.
And I think help me if I'm saying this incorrect. Help me out. But he says something to those. You could never trust me because I could never trust myself, or something like that.
He said you can't trust. He said, and I can't be trusted.
Right. Thank you. And that's that whole sort of thing from 2012 to the TVA to the dialogue between Morbius and his relationship with Thor and just everything that this guy's gone through. It essentially boils down to that. You can't trust, we can't trust, and we can't be trusted. that just essential little fiber, excuse me, of Loki essentially ends up being the downfall. Wow, I didn't really think about it like this. The downfall to the whole multiverse.
And at the end of the day, Loki himself actually made the super honest attempt. Actually, he was like, even at the end of the day, where he drops his weapon, he's like, really, like I want like thinking he's like, he could be lying, and we can definitely kill him. He said, but if he's not lying, he said this may be something that's too big. He's like, I don't care about the throne. He said that's not important. He said, but he said we're literally talking about the universe. Or he's not. He said this is like essentially, and Loki has hit that cornerstone, like the classic Loki said, where he has moved beyond the need of a throne.
Sure, I definitely see that. I definitely see that. I see a
Like,
lot more of the classic comic book Loki in this one than I did at the beginning of the season. You're absolutely right.
yeah, like he was like,
He's he
he was like, I don't even care about the throne. He's like, but this decision, he said, this is literally beyond me wanting power. Like this is like universe is at stake,
and not only that, but he cares about Sylvie.
yeah, and
He genuinely cares about her.
but at the end of the
You
day,
know,
her thing kicks in, and she says, I'm sorry,
at the
like
end of the day, they're Loki. At the end of the day, that's just what it is. They are Loki, and he says it. He goes, you can't trust, and I can't be trusted. It was crazy because she even says, she goes, why aren't both of us seeing it the same way? Why aren't both of us seeing this? And you have that sort of split. You have that sort of dynamic. You saw the two of them holding hands and enchanting Elias in the last episode, where they were clearly on the same page. But when it came to this decision, there was a split, and that split essentially led to
but
the
that's also why they're variants.
true. True. It man, when you say something like that, I wonder, and I can only wonder what the OG Loki, what his decision would have been. Um, I wonder, I wonder that. So you see this moment between Loki and Sylvie. They embrace, they kiss. Loki essentially puts his self in front of the blade of Sylvie and says, wait. And he essentially kind of expresses his feelings towards Sylvie, and they embrace, they kiss, as awkward as that is, whatever. And then Sylvie, banishes him. We'll get back to that. Now she's left in a room with he who remains.
She pushes the desk out of the way, and she uses the sword, and she asks him like, "Aren't you gonna beg for your life?" And he's like,
Nope.
I could.
Nope. Uh-uh. And she plunges the sword into his chest.
You see,
And the fateful words that he says is what?
See you later.
See you soon.
Pretty much. As soon as that happened, you literally see the timeline outside. Like it was already splitting as they sat there. Like after they got to the point where he said he didn't know the information. He said he's hit at the point where he doesn't know what's gonna happen next, and you can already see the timeline slowly kind of split. But when she stabbed him, you literally seen it literally just kind of like there wasn't even a timeline anymore. It was like a time star system. Like it was like
it was. And let me go back here a second, because I'm going back to help me out, Nate. When did we see Pietro in WandaVision? Was that episode 4?
Yeah.
And remember how hype I was about is this that moment? I kept saying that in the videos. This is that moment. This is that moment where we get that whole multiverse crossover. Remember how hype I was? And it ended up falling flat on its face.
I don't think it fell all the way flat though, because there are
In
elements from that are going to
in
play into
this
this.
in this show, in Loki, you're 100% right, because in Loki, I'm convinced when she killed He Who Remains, and you saw the timeline split in essentially infinite directions or whatever, that was in fact that moment for the Marvel universe. And now everything that happens from here on out, we got Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and I know I'm getting ahead of our topic. We got Spider-Man. We got so many things, and the possibilities are literally endless. That's why I want y'all, and this is the second time I've said it, to go back and listen to that opening sort of Marvel introduction. You hear all the quotes. Listen real closely, because there's some voices in there. There's some other voices in there. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So we essentially see the split. We see the fragmentation of the timeline. We start to see the nexus events. We start to see all the terms we've learned from this sort of journey. And we start to see these branches, these unproved timelines start to branch off in different directions. Loki wakes up after getting essentially banished. He's sitting there in shock and disbelief, like, man, I cannot believe this happened. You know, his trust has been broken. He's upset. He looks like his heart's broken, all that kind of stuff. And then you start to see him run off. Who's he run off to? Who's he go find?
So he goes to find. He's running through the TVA. He goes to find essentially Mobius to try to explain what's going on, and he finds him and new B-15 talking about, and he's like, what does he want us to do? Like prune the whole quadrant? And he's like, what do you mean? He said, no, and Loki runs on. He's like, we can't stop it. And he's like, and they're saying like, what are you talking about? She's talking about. She's like, she's done. We met him. She killed him. Like, is you can't stop it from branching out. It's infinite. And he's like, what are you talking about? Who are you? And they're like, he's like, who?
They even asked him, are you an agent?
Yeah.
They have no idea who Loki is.
He's been cleared from their memories.
And then he looks over, and where there were 3 statues of the timekeepers, there's a statue of who?
You got Kang now. You got He Remains, but in like his kind of more of the Kang outfit.
Not He Who Remains, not Immortus, Kang the Conqueror. That is a statue you see.
And it's like, well, that was quick.
So let me ask you this question: Are we under the assumption that Loki himself is in a different timeline now? Like, where is he? Because he's not where. Obviously, he wasn't banished back to that I hate to say original timeline, but that original TVA. I'm assuming he's in a different.
Yeah, I'm assuming at this
timeline.
The timeline is so shattered that pushing him back.
He could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's pushing him back at a point in time, but not at what universe in that point in time.
Right. Got you.
He can literally go anywhere in that shattered universe at that point in time. Everything started splitting.
So we know 2 things here. Not to get into a wrap up, because we're hoping to do a series recap 1 through 6 here with Nate and myself, but hopefully Brennan is back in action. We can't wait to get the band back together. But we do know 2 things. We're going to see Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that they have already filmed season 2 of Loki.
Yes.
This is to my knowledge, WandaVision was not greenlit for 2nd season. Falcon and Winter Soldier was not greenlit. Probably because there's essentially movies coming out that will probably tell the story Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness will definitely tie into WandaVision. And then help me out, Nate. There's another.
I think there's actually
What?
gonna be a Falcon and Winter Soldier movie. Like
Yes, there'll be
Captain America and the Winter
Captain
Soldier.
America. Yes, you're right. Captain America 4, I believe, will be the continuation of Sam Wilson as Captain America, Bucky Barnes as Winter Soldier, or what have you. But Loki, they've already shot a
We will return in season 2.
yeah. So not to get too far ahead, and I can't really answer because I don't know. I don't know what's coming between everything ending at this point. It's season 2 of Loki. I mean, there's so much stuff that can be squished in the middle of that. I have no idea. We're going to get What If, which I'm really looking forward to. You know, and there's countless other series, the movies. So I don't know even, you know, what we normally do is, hey, what are we going to see in season 2 or the next? I don't really know. I have no idea. I have no idea with this episode. I have no idea. Um, but I'll essentially let you go ahead and take it home if you have any sort of final thoughts on episode 6. I absolutely loved it. To me, it was a combination. The Devil's Advocate meets Willy Wonka. That whole sort of Miss Minutes, yeah, he's been waiting for you. He gives you this ultimatum kind of thing. Do this or
Basically, like
do
he has a
that.
deal for you.
Yeah, man. I don't know how many Devil's Advocate fans are out there, man. It's a dope ass flick. I'll leave it at that. This reminded me, it was a combination of those two movies, and it hit me 20 minutes before you and I started talking. Jonathan Majors, man, I cannot wait to see what he does more with these characters and these sort of derivatives of Kane the Conqueror or Nathaniel Richards or Mortis or Rama Tut or whatever. I cannot wait to see, because he absolutely stole this episode, in my opinion. He stole it alongside Tom Hiddleston. You guys know how I feel about him and his acting. Cannot wait to see what he does with his character. I'll leave it at that. I cannot wait to get back with my guys and do a series recap. Nate, I'll let you finish off. Take it home, man.
All right. We appreciate anybody who stuck with us in this almost 40-minute video. We appreciate it greatly, and any likes and subscribes are greatly appreciated. Hopefully, like I said, or like we said, tomorrow, once we get the gang back together, we will be doing a whole recap on the whole series as a whole, and hopefully also some Bad Batch episodes as well. So we might be able to get a bunch of content out to y'all in rapid succession if everything goes well.
We've seen Black Widow. We're going to talk about that too. That's out
Black
there.
Widow.
August, I think, and I'm not sure what the week. Somebody fact check me, but we're going to get the What If series, which for me, out of the four original ones, Loki I was looking forward to. What If is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most out of these first 4. Cannot wait to see that. Cannot wait to have those discussions and talk about it with you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for your support. Like, comment, subscribe, share. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.